Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A very warm welcome on behalf of Inishnath Island, Govindadwipa, for the Monday morning Srimad-Bhagavatam talk. Today, we are going to read from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka, Text 12. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jai Radha Madhava. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Nitai Sachinandana, Gaura Hari. Jaya Panchatattva, 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 Jaya Panchatattva, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। Samved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे सर्वं श्री कृष्णार्पणमस्तु। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Today we are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka, Text 12. Sarvartu-sarva-vibhava puṇya-vṛkṣa-latāśramaiḥ udyānopavanārāmair vṛta-padmākara-śriyam. Sarvartu-sarva-vibhava puṇya-vṛkṣa-latāśramaiḥ udyānopavanārāmair vṛta-padmākara-śriyam. Sarvartu-sarva-vibhava puṇya-vṛkṣa-latāśramaiḥ udyānopavanārāmair vṛta-padmākara-śriyam. Word by word. Sarva, all. Ritu, seasons. Sarva, all. Vibhava, opulences. Punya, pious. Vriksha, trees. Lata, creepers. Ashramai, with hermitages. Udyāna, orchards. Upavana, flower gardens. Āramai, pleasure gardens and beautiful parks. Vrita, surrounded by. Padmākara, the birthplaces of lotus, or nice reservoirs of water. Śriyam, increasing the beauty. Translation. The city of Dvārakāpurī was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water, breeding lotus flowers all over. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Perfection of human civilization is made possible by utilizing the gifts of nature in their own way. As we find herewith in the description of its opulence, Dwaraka was surrounded by flower gardens and fruit orchards, along with reservoirs of water and growing lotuses. There is no mention of mills and factories supported by slaughterhouses, which are the necessary paraphernalia of the modern metropolis. The propensity to utilize nature's own gift is still there, even in the heart of modern civilized man. The leaders of modern civilization select their own residential quarters in a place where there are such naturally beautiful gardens and reservoirs of water, but they leave the common men to reside in congested areas without parks and gardens. Herein, of course, we find a different description of the city of Dwaraka. It is understood that the whole Dharma, or residential quarter, was surrounded by such gardens and parks, with reservoirs of water where lotuses grew. It is understood that all the people depended on nature's gifts of fruits and flowers without industrial enterprises promoting filthy huts and slums for residential quarters. Advancement of civilization is estimated not on growth of mills and factories to deteriorate the finer instincts of the human being, but on developing the potent spiritual instincts of human beings and giving them a chance to go back to Godhead. Development of factories and mills is called Ugra Karma, or pungent activities, and such activities deteriorate the finer sentiments of the human being and society to form a dungeon of demons. We find herein the mention of pious trees which produce seasonal flowers and fruits. The impious trees are useless jungles only, and they can only be used to supply fuels. In the modern civilization, such impious trees are planted on the sides of roads. Human energy should be properly utilized in developing the finer senses for spiritual understanding, in which lies the solution of life. Fruits, flowers, beautiful gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water with ducks and swans playing in the midst of lotus flowers, and cows giving sufficient milk and butter are essential for developing the finer tissues of the human body. As against this, the dungeons of mines, factories, and workshops develop demoniac propensities in the working class. The vested interests flourish at the cost of the working class, and consequently, there are severe clashes between them in so many ways. The description of Dwaraka Dharma is the ideal of human civilization. Before we discuss this verse, let me offer my prayers to the Guru Varga and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namashreshtham manamapi Shachiputram Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Mathurim Goshthavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च अददन्दस्तृणं दन्ते इदं याचः पुनः पुनः श्रीमन्रूपपदाम्भोजं धूलिस्यां जन्म जन्मनि। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So today we are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwaraka, Text 12. Sarvartu-sarva-vibhava puṇya-vṛkṣa-latāśramaiḥ udyānopavanārāmair vṛta-padmākara-śriyam. The city of Dvārakāpurī was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water breeding lotus flowers all over. This verse is being said by Srila Sutta Goswami to all the sages, Shaunaka Rishi, headed by Shaunaka Rishi and all the other sages in the Naimisharanya forest. And this verse is describing beautifully about how Dvarakāpurī was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water breeding lotus flowers all over, orchards. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport how these natural, beautiful surroundings, environment is still present. But how these environments are present only in the places where the people with opulence reside. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport about the word called Ugra Karma. What is Ugra Karma? That is activities that are being done to make the life more comfortable. For example, the factories. What are the factories doing? The factories are making, there are a lot of machines that are there in the factories, and they are making a lot of different things so that our life becomes more comfortable. For example, car manufacturing factory, or factory which is manufacturing so many other things. What is happening here is, as human beings, we have been given the amount of intelligence that we have as human beings is incredible. And that's why Krishna mentions, Yayedam dharyate jagat. Apareyam itastu anyam vidhi me prakritim param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita about his inferior energy and superior energy. So Krishna says that the inferior energies are Bhumir apa anala vayu kham mana buddhirevacha ahankaram itiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtada. So that's earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So Krishna says that these 8 are my separated energies. And we see that all the whole material world is made up of all these ingredients. For example, if we look at the human body is a combination of earth, water, fire, air, and space. The grass that we see is the skin and etc. that we see is earth. The blood flowing is like water. So there is a digestion element in the stomach. So Krishna says, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Prana-pana Samayuktam Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. So Krishna says that I am present as the Vaishvanara Agni. Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita. So as the fire of digestion, the Supreme Lord is present in the living entities. Prana-pana Samayuktam. And what is the function of that Vaishvanara Agni? It is actually doing Prana-pana Samayuktam. So there is the Prana Vayu, the breathing, the exhalation and inhalation, and the control of that is being done by Vaishvanara Agni. And then Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. And we eat different kinds of foodstuffs. And all those kinds of foodstuffs is being digested through the potency of the Lord. This is the amazing presence of Krishna everywhere. So this is very important to understand that. So Krishna himself is saying that he is present as a Vaishvanara Agni, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. And then Krishna is saying that all these 8 elements are my separated energies. So there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, because the energy is coming out of the energetic. So there is a very beautiful verse in the Vedas that says, Ekadesha Sthitas Agnir Jyotsna Vistarini Yatha Parasya Brahmanak Shaktir Tathedam Akhilam Jagat. This beautiful verse in Vedas say that just like this, the fire is situated at one place, or we can take an example of sun, because sun is a huge ball of fire, glowing ball of fire, which is giving the heat and light everywhere. So that particular verse is saying that just like how the fire is situated at one place and it is distributing its light and heat and energy everywhere, similarly, Parasya Brahmanak Shaktir Tathedam Akhilam Jagat. So similarly, the power, the energy is coming out of the Supreme Lord and it is present everywhere. Parasya Brahmana Shaktir Tathedam Akhilam Jagat. So this is very important to understand, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in the form of his energy everywhere, his inferior energy and his superior energy. And we, the living entities, in the form of his superior energies, and especially in the human form of life, it has got a great significance. This Srila, there is the verse. There are so many verses in the scriptures that mention how important the human form of life is. For example, Kaumaram Acharet Prajna Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janmam Tadapi Adhruvam Arthadam. This is a very famous verse that Srila Prabhupada quotes many number of times. And this is said by Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj is saying that this engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be done from the childhood itself. Kaumaram Acharet Prajna. What is Prajna? Prajna is Prajna Vadamscha Bhashase. Gatasun Agatasumscha Nanu Shochanti Pandita. Ashochan Anavashocastvam Prajna Vadamscha Bhashase. Gatasun Atasunscha Nanu Shochanti Pandita. So this is said by Krishna to Arjuna. So that's Prajna. Prajna is this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. That is Prajna. So Krishna was mentioning to Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, you are lamenting for something that does not need lamentation. Ashocyan anavashocastvam. Prajna Vadams. And you're speaking as if you are a very learned person. And then he's saying that Gatasun Agatasumscha Nanu Shochanti Pandita. A real Pandita, a real person in knowledge, does not lament neither for the living nor for the dead. What is the reason? Why a learned person does not lament for anything? Because the learned person knows that all this is constantly changing. So this ubhayor api drishtantas tva anayos tattvadarshibhi. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. Ubhayor api drishtantas tva anayos tattvadarshibhi. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that what is eternally existing never changes, and what changes every time is not eternally existing. It's very clear to understand this. So dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tatha dehantaram prapti dhiras tatra na muhyati. Because there is this proprietor of the body within the body, these changes are taking place within the body from the childhood to the youth to the old age. And similarly, the body has to be given up. So all these are the most important points that can be understood only in human form of life. In no other form of life, this can be understood. And this verse, so Srila Prabhupada mentions in this verse that how important it is, therefore, to make the life as simple as possible, so that the human intelligence can be used to go inside, to know who we are. That is the most important aspect of human form of life. But unfortunately, what is happening in this material world is the mind is getting entangled in the mind gets enamored. So prakritim mohinim shrita. So Krishna mentions prakritim mohinim shrita. So the material world is enamoring the mind. What is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is it does not want to stay at one particular place. It wants to keep jumping from one place to another, one place to another. And how can the mind be controlled? Through the intelligence. So the intelligence is the driver of the chariot, and the mind is the rein. So if the rein is going, and the senses are the horses, the 5 horses. So if the rein is going without the control of the charioteer, the horses will go in their own direction. So therefore, Arjuna also actually mentions, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavad dradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur iva sudushkaram. So Arjuna mentions to Krishna that, and Arjuna, this is Arjuna who is saying this. He is Guda Kesha. He is the person who has controlled his sleep. He is Mahabaho. Samshayam Mahabaho. Manodur nigraham chalam. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. So Arjuna is saying this, that Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. That, oh Krishna, this mind is very, it's not staying at one place. It is moving from one place to another place, another place. It's not staying at, it's not focusing at one place. And it's very obstinate. Pramati balavad dradam. And the comparison that Arjuna gives there is that the mind is even difficult than controlling the wind. We know that to control a wind is the most difficult thing. For example, if a tornado is coming, if a storm is coming, the human beings have still not found a way to control the storm. So with this advancement of technology in the 21st century, we still are not there yet in terms of controlling the nature. And probably some people might say that, some of the advanced scientists might say that they will find solution to all the natural calamities. But we will see what is. So the control. So for example, if a storm is coming, there is no way to control the storm. It will do its job, and we have to wait until it completes its job and goes. So Arjuna is saying like that to control the mind is even difficult than controlling the wind. So then Krishna says, Asamshaya Mahabaho Manodur Nigraham Charam. So Krishna is agreeing, undoubtedly Arjuna. And Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho, the person with strong arms, because Arjuna is a warrior. So Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and because he is physically strong, and Kshatriya should be mentally strong as well, not only physically but mentally, because they need to take proper decisions at proper times for the benefit of all the citizens. So they not only need to have proper physique in order to actually go and fight in the battle, but they need to have a proper mental attitude as well, a strong mind. So when Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho, it also means that he has got a strong mind there. So he's saying that undoubtedly, Arjuna, you are a strong person and you have a strong mind. And I agree that it is very difficult to control the mind. Mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. So Krishna says that through practice and detachment, the mind can be controlled. Through practice and detachment. Yato yato nischarati manas chanchalam asthiram tatas niyamaityad atmanyeva vasham nayet. So Krishna gives an example of how the mind can be controlled. So Krishna says that whenever the mind is going for the different enjoyments through the senses, it is in that mode of going from one place to another. So whenever it is going, manas chanchalam astiram tatas niyamaityad atmanyeva vasham nayet. At that time, notice that the mind is going there, and then bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Constantly keep bringing it back. And in a way that is not in a forceful way. That is very important. Because the mind is like a child. If a small child, for example, 2-3 years old, or they are if we try to forcefully control them, they will just retaliate. They will rebel. So the mind is actually like that. So if you're trying to forcefully control the mind, then the mind is going to rebel, and then it is going to lead us into a state of depression. So the way is to slowly to just. So therefore, Krishna says, "Param drishtva nivartate, vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina, rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate." So vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. So when the mind is not, so the mind has to have some kind of engagement. It cannot remain without any engagement. That is very important point here, and therefore. Even when someone is meditating on the impersonal, they are actually meditating on impersonal. So they have a focus point of impersonal. So that is also a meditation. So that is also a way of controlling the mind. But then we know Krishna himself says that klesho adhikaras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakto hi gatir dukkham dehavadbhir avapyate. So Krishna says that because in this material world, we are identifying each other through the physical body. We cannot, the mind can, unless one is in that state of jnana marga. If one is in a jnana marga state where one gets more happiness and blissfulness from meditating on the Brahman, the impersonal Brahman, then they are in that category. So in that category, then they probably will follow that path. They probably will not like bhakti as much as their own inclination towards jnana. So in that jnana marga, if that is the case, then probably finally they will reach. So bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate. So this is the conclusion that Krishna says, that vasudeva sarvamiti samhatma sudurlabha. So a person may be following the jnana marga, or the meditation on the impersonal Brahman, and they may be following it for births after births, birth after birth. But finally, prapadyate is the conclusion. Surrender, jnanvan mam prapadyate. And what happens after surrendering onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead? One knows that vasudeva sarvamiti. So then the person knows that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yat kincham jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma grida kasya svidhanam. So this is the statement of the Ishopanishad, the first verse in Ishopanishad, where it is saying that everything is belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything belongs. So there is nothing. Every nook and corner is belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the whole universe. There is nothing that does not belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma grida kasya svidhanam. Therefore, a person should not be attached that this is mine, this is mine. If that attachment is there, then bhidyate hridaya. So then the attachment is causing all the sorrows. The whole sorrow is experienced because of attachment. Otherwise, there is no sorrow, there is only bliss. When a person is detached, when a person knows that maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjam madashrayam asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasisi tachrunu. So the attachment should be only towards Krishna. All the other attachments should get loosened. So param drishtva nivartate, when we are saying that when the mind is engaged in an activity of higher satisfaction, higher bliss, then automatically the lower activities are given up. So this is the maya asakta manapartha. So Krishna says that make your mind attached to me, maya asakta manapartha, and then do yogam yunjam madashrayam. Then do the yoga, then madashrayam. Then you become surrendered onto me. Then what will happen is asamshayam samagram mam yatha jnasisi tachrunu. Undoubtedly, you will know me in full. So Krishna is saying this. Samagram mam, totally, 100%. Yatha jnasasi, you will know me. And therefore you hear, tachrunu. So this is the greatness of hearing. There are so many verses in the scriptures about the importance of hearing about the Lord. So, Madchitta Madgat Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So when the mind is engrossed in hearing about the Lord and talking about the Lord, Madchitta. So the chitta is that the subconscious mind actually. It is a mind. The subconscious mind is very strong. It's even stronger than the conscious mind, because whatever is there in the subconscious, it gets executed for 100%. Undoubtedly, it gets executed. The subconscious has got a direct connection with the Supreme Personality, with the infinite intelligence of the Lord that is pervading everywhere. We can access the infinite intelligence at any moment. And the chitta, so that's why Krishna says, Mad chitta madgat prana. So, bodhayanta parasparam. So, kathayantascha mam nityam. And what are they saying? They're talking about me. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. And how are they talking about me? With a lot of satisfaction and a lot of blissfulness, a lot of happiness. So that bliss is, it cannot be compared to any other happiness in this material world. Because the nature of the happiness in this material world is adyantavanta kaunteya, na teshu ramate buddha. So, yahi sansparshaja bhoga dukkha yonah evate adyantavanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. So, what Krishna says is that whatever so-called happiness we derive from the interaction of the sense with the sense objects it has got a beginning and it has got an end. And it is the dukkha yonaya. It is the womb of sorrow. Therefore, na teshu ramate buddha. Therefore, an intelligent person does not take pleasure in those kind of so-called happiness. So then what does an intelligent person do? Ramante yogina anante satyanande chidatmani iti rama padena ashau param brahma abhidiyate. So this is mentioned in the Vedas, that the real yogi is the real person who is after the spiritual enlightenment, after the attachment to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is enjoying unlimited bliss. Ramante yogina anante. This is the difference between the material happiness and the spiritual bliss. The material happiness is the womb of sorrow. How is it the womb of sorrow? We can take a very classic example, and it's probably a cliched example as well, but it can be, there is no harm in repeating it, and that is probably the attachment of a parent for the child. So it is so strong, that attachment. It is probably the most strong attachment that is in this material world, the parent-child relationship. And so that moment is probably the best moment in the life of when they are. But what is that causing? It is causing the greatest sorrow as well, because when that relationship somehow gets broken by different means, the final way that it gets broken is the death, the inevitable death. So then there is so much sorrow involved in that, because the attachment is so strong, the sorrow is equally strong. This is the nature of this material world. So it has a beginning and it has an end. But in the spiritual world, it is that the blissfulness is never ending. It is pratipadam puṇya-vṛkṣa svadanam. So at every moment, that blissfulness is increasing. There is no question of the bliss starting and ending. It is a question of the bliss every moment. It is pratipadam puṇya-vṛkṣa svadanam. This is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, that at every step there is this nectar, the unimaginable nectar that is being tasted at every step. So this is the state of engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. When the mind is attached to the devotional service of the Lord, then there is no all the other attachments gets. So therefore, that beautiful verse that Srila Rupa Goswami is saying about that ma prekshishta tava yadi sakhe bandhu sanghe sthiranga. So he's saying that smeram bhangitraya parichitam shachi vistrina dishtim vamshi nyasta dharakishalayam ujvalam chandrakena govindakhyam haritanam iti keshi tirthopakante ma prekshishta tava yadi sakhe bandhu sanghe sthiranga. So that beautiful form of Krishna, smeram bhangitraya, the threefold bending form of Krishna, shachi vistirna drishtim, and his sidelong glances, vamshi nyasta dharakishalayam, and the flute in his lotus, what do you say, lips, ujvalam chandrakena, and then the moonlight, the full moonlight. So the haritanam, govindakhyam haritanam iti keshi tirthopakante. So he is on the banks of the Keshi Ghat, and his name is Govinda. Ma prekshishta. And Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that don't have a look at this Krishna. Why? Because if you have attachment towards your family and friends, then don't have a look at this form of Krishna. This is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why his name is Krishna. Akarshati iti Krishna. One who attracts everyone to him. That is Krishna. So Krishna, so everyone is naturally attracted to Krishna. There is no one who is not attracted to Krishna. It's just that the covering is preventing them from that realization. There are different types of covering that the living entity has, and those covering, so dhume navritam vahne yatha adarshana malena cha yatho benavritam garbhas tatha tenedam avritam. So the living entities have this kind of covering, like the smoke is covering the fire, which is not a strong covering. So that's a mode of goodness. Then the dust covering the mirror, that is a little bit of strong covering. It needs cleaning. That is mode of passion. And the final is the embryo in the womb of a person, and then that is a very strong covering. That is mode of ignorance. So because all these coverings are there, unfortunately, this Ugra Karma is happening. The Ugra Karma being mentioned in this verse by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here that it is understood that all the people dependent on nature's gifts of fruits and flowers without industrial enterprises, dependent on the nature's gifts of fruit and flowers without industrial enterprises promoting filthy huts and slums for residential quarters. We see this in the cities. What is happening in the cities? That there is this huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. So the haves are billionaires, and the have-nots don't have something to eat even sometimes for once a day. They are not able to get something to eat. So this is what is this? This is created by the Ugra Karma. So instead of everyone staying together as the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, this is a utopian society. It's an utopian idea, because this material world has got this. Everyone is unfortunately driven by these negative qualities, unfortunately. So this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. So this it's unfortunate. That is an unfortunate situation. And actually, in this age of Kali, it is Kalau Dosha Nidhe Rajan. So it is full of impurities. Prayen Alpayusha Sabhya Kalau Asmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrita. This is said in the Srimad-Bhagavatam that in this age of Kali, the Prayan Alpayusha Sabhya. So first of all, the duration of life is very much reduced. So earlier, when we talk about Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. So for example, in the Kali Yuga, it's probably 100 years, the maximum. So when we go back to the Dwapar Yuga, it was 1,000. When we go back to the Treta Yuga, it was 10,000. And when we go back to the Satya Yuga, it was 100,000. So the duration of the age has been reduced, and so has been reduced all the other qualities that are conducive for spiritual development. So Prayana Payusha Sabhya, Kalau Asmin Yuge Jana, in the Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Matayo. So the Matirna Krishne Paratas Satova, Mito Bipadyeta Graha Pratana, Adanta Gobi Vishatam Tamishram Puna Punas Charvita Charananam. So this is so Prayan Alpayusha Sabhya, Kalau Asmin Manda Sumanda Matayo. So this mind is being engaged in the activities that are only related to the external sense gratification. The mind has got no inclination to understand who we really are. What is our original nature? Unfortunately, in this age of Kali, very few people have that inclination. So that is the nature of this age of Kali. Manda Sumanda Mateo, Manda Bhagya. And because of that, the fortune is also not there. What is the real fortune? The real Bhagya is when one understands one's original blissful nature, and one gets enrooted oneself in that nature and never comes out of that nature. The mind, the intelligence, and everything is fixed internally in reveling in that unending bliss. So that is the actual goal of human form of life. But what is happening is this Manda Sumanda Mateo. So the fortune is in the material world. Sometimes the fortune is calculated by the amount of money a person is possessing, and that is the. So if someone is a billionaire, then he is a very fortunate person. And if someone is unfortunately not having much money, then he is a very unfortunate position. So the only criteria in this Kali Yuga of fortune is related to money. Nothing else is considered as a fortune. But what is the greatest fortune? The greatest fortune is the ability to be happy in whatever circumstances one may be in, to be blissful in whatever circumstances one may be in. That is the greatest fortune. When the external situation does not impact the person, that is the greatest fortune. It is not. So all the other things are And when one understands one's original nature as an eternal person, not this constantly changing body, that is the greatest fortune. When one understands that, this what Krishna said, ashocyanana shochastvam prajñavadamscha bhashase. So when one knows that this achedyohem maddahyohem makledyo ashoshyavacha nitya sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanatana. So as Krishna is saying that the real us cannot be cut by weapons, cannot be burned by fire, cannot be made wet by water, cannot be made dry, cannot be dried by the wind. So, and we are eternally existing, and we are present everywhere. So the living entities are there everywhere. The whole universe has got all the living entities. So this is a concept in the Vedas. Srila Prabhupada also mentions that just like in the water, there are living entities which have their conducive body to be in the water, all the fishes and different types. So similarly, there would be living entities who have body conducive to live in fire. So the living entities are there everywhere. So nitya sarvagata sthanur achaloyam sanatana. So this is the understanding. When this understanding is there, then guru napi na vichalyate. So this yasmin sthitena dukkhena guru napi vichalyate. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tata. Yasmin sthitena dukkhena guru napi vichalyate. So once when one gains this understanding of our original constitutional position as an eternal living entity, eternally related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we don't need anything else. Anything else that is coming is just an extra bonus. Nothing else other than that. So when one is in that situation, yes means, so in that state, the greatest calamity might befall on a person, but one is not disturbed by it. That is the state that can be achieved in the human form of life. And unfortunately, the whole concentration is being given to, as Srila Prabhupada mentions, as against this, the dungeons of mines, factories, and workshops develop demoniac propensities in the working class. The vested interests flourish at the cost of working class, and consequently, there are severe clashes between them in so many ways. So the description of Dwaraka Dharma is the ideal of human civilization. This is a kind of conclusion that Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. The description of Dwaraka Dharma is the ideal of human civilization. And what is the description mentioned? The city of Dvārakāpurī was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, and reservoirs of water, breeding lotus flowers all over. This is, in the current age, going to a park or going to a place where we get all these wonderful sceneries, the beautiful lotus flower and the orchards, the flower gardens, the parks. It's just a small place. So we'll have a huge city, and then we'll have a small place which is called a park, and everyone will go to the park and enjoy the scenery, and then come back, and then again there's the Ugra Karma. There is this whole there's what is it called? All this made of cement. Everything is made of cement. So the concrete jungle. So that is the word I was looking for. Concrete jungle. So we are kind of very busy making the concrete jungles everywhere, and these concrete jungles are unfortunately creating imbalance in the nature. We know about all this global warming and all this that is happening now. So, for example, we create the refrigerator to keep things fresh for a longer period of time, and then the refrigerators emanate chlorofluorocarbons. That CFC is depleting the ozone layer, and the ozone layer is actually is the layer that that stops the harmful ultraviolet rays from coming in. So that is depleting. This is the kind of nature of the material world, that we are trying to solve one problem and we create multiple problems out of solving one problem. And then we need to solve those problems. And why did we try to solve this problem in the first place? The question is that. But then the human intelligence is such that, the human imagination is such that we want to keep improving our lives. That is a kind of natural state, that because the intelligence has been given, the mind and intelligence has been given to the human beings. A developed mind and developed intelligence, not as so all the other types of entities, if we look at, they wouldn't have as much developed intelligence as a human being. And that developed intelligence is being used to make our external life as easy as possible. So now the next thing that will be coming is all this artificial intelligence. So the artificial intelligence is the neural networks. So we know that our brain has got neural network. It is the combination of neurons, the interworking of a lot of neurons, millions of neurons, and they create a new cell, neural pathway it is called. So that's how the learning happens in the brain. So now we have used our intelligence to such an extent that we want to create a new set of neural pathways, a neural network, and provide it to use this artificial intelligence, self-learning techniques. So the human beings have got this learning technique where we see something and then we see something new, we learn from it, and then we start practicing it. So now this artificial intelligence is a stream of science where we are giving this intelligence to the machines. So this is what is happening, that we keep on going to an extent of playing Krishna in this material world. So we want to create another set of human beings now, typically the robots. So there will be a separate set of human beings who will be assisting us in doing everything. So, we would need to do, for example, this robot that would be cleaning everything, and then the cars, that self-driven cars. So at the end of the day, what is going to happen is all the things that we create are going to become more smarter, and the human being themselves are going to become more dumber. So this is so there is nothing. What we have to understand here is there is nothing that is extremely like it is really good or really bad. It is the way the things are being used. For example, if all this Ugra Karma was controlled in a certain way, that the Ugra Karma does not become 90% of our activities or 95% of our activities. Only 5% is the real karma, the karma of. So that is the current situation, unfortunately, that 95% of activities is Ugra Karma. If, for example, it was controlled in such a way that Ugra Karma was, say, 45%, and the real karma or the karma of ourself understanding who we are was 55%, then that would have created a sense of balance, or 50-50, even if we say. That would have created a sense of balance. But now the balance has totally tilted towards this external gratification. And there is no understanding of who we are. What is our real happiness? There is no understanding of that. And that is what is the unfortunate situation. And this is where Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON is the greatest hope in the contemporary world, where there are set of dedicated devotees who are really going in the direction of what is described here about the city of Dvārakāpurī, filled with opulences of all seasons. So creating those hermitages, creating those orchards, creating those flower gardens, creating those parks and reservoirs of water breeding lotus flowers all over. This is a greatness of Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, where the dedicated devotees who are surrendered to Guru and Gauranga are determined to create this wonderful spiritual atmosphere within this material world. So where there is this anxieties will be conspicuous by their absence. These anxieties of global warming and all these other things, if this is taken up by more people, slowly this Ugra Karma will become the divine karma, the transcendental karma, or it will be transformed. So people will, even now, there is a lot of understanding in people about how, like there are so many people who are going vegan and all this, this understanding that actually this global warming is happening and it needs to be controlled in some way. There are a lot of people thinking in this direction. So initially we were in this good place of being in harmony with the nature, and then we started going like this, and we are gone into this state now, total disharmony with nature. Now there are a certain set of people who are understanding that, okay, we have to come back now. We have to come back. We have to come back. So now there will be a global force of people led by the Krishna consciousness movement who will take this direction back. And then, so it's all a cycle. This material nature, it's a cycle of everything goes in the cycle. So as there is a cycle of birth and death, so there is a cycle of being in harmony with the nature and being in total disharmony with the nature, which is we are more in the total disharmony with the nature at the moment. And then slowly we'll understand that, then we'll start coming back to the harmony with the nature, and then that will be. And when we reach that state of that balance, the balance is very important. That's what Krishna says: yuktahara viharasya, yukta karmasu kaushalam, yukta sapnava bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. The balance is extremely important. Not that concentrating on getting externally comfortable situation is bad. It's not bad. But as long as we understand that knowing who we are is also equally important. If we understand that, then we can come to a place where the external comfort and the internal bliss meets each other, and we stay at that place of the place where there is balance. So the most important thing is that maintaining that balance, maintaining the harmony, not going too much on this side or not going too much on that side. So maintaining on that. Actually, going too much on that side has got no negatives. Being 100% in harmony with nature is the best place to be in. But then to reach there, especially in this Kali Yuga, it's probably not possible in this Kali Yuga. It has to go back to the cycle of Satya Yuga again. So once the Kali Yuga is, everything gets destroyed, and then the Satya Yuga starts, and then there is 100% harmony with nature. Again, that cycle starts. So we go back to that cycle. But at least trying to get to that balance is the most important thing. And Krishna consciousness movement is leading that balance. And therefore, let's pray that what is mentioned in this translation about the city of Dvārakāpurī being filled with opulences of all seasons, hermitages, orchards, flower gardens, parks, reservoirs of water breeding lotus flowers all over. Let this be the situation where in this material world where everyone lives in harmony with nature. Not saying that we are not progressing in scientific advancement. We can equally progress in scientific advancement as well, but not forgetting that living in harmony with the nature is paramount for all the species of living entities to exist. Otherwise, the species itself will get destroyed. If we have no food, how are we going to live? So if we create such a situation in this world that growing food becomes a challenge, then who is going to survive? the whole living entities are going to get dissipated. Basically, there will be no living entities. So therefore, let's pray that we reach this stage where which is mentioned in this verse, and be totally absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to talk on Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 12. Sarvartu-sarva-vibhava, puṇya-vṛkṣa-latāśramaiḥ, udyānopavanārāmair, vṛta-padmākara-śriyam. If there is any question or comments, we can take it. I have Sachin Ziroji, Hare Krishna. Michael Dysonji, nice to hear. Hare Krishna, Michael Dysonji. Madhavology knowledge, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Lalit Rawat, Hare Bol, Prabhu. Parminder, Prabhu, Jai Ho, Hare Krishna. Rita Prajapati, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining in this discussion of the wonderful scripture called Srimad-Bhagavatam. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Krishne Materastu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.